Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us again for another Razer webinar. This week, we're going to discuss an MSP topic of how can managed services benefit the growth of your organization. So there's a number of different things that we're going to cover today in regards to if you're considering the benefits of a managed service provider like Razer, or looking at options of trying to augment different elements of your current business and how an MSP might be able to help in this kind of situations. My name is Ryan Rosenkaimer. I'm the Director of Operations at Razer Technology. I've been in technology for over 20 years now in a number of different verticals and industries all across different segments. So today's agenda, we're going to briefly kind of talk about an overview of Razer and what Razer is as a whole, ways to work with an IT partner, IT management maturity model, what exactly that is, why partner with an MSP, benefits of managed services, the MSP engagement roadmap, and choosing the right MSP. So all deep and investive topics that we're going to cover today. So Razer as a whole has been established since 2004. It's a privately held company with the leading end-to-end business IT solutions dedicated to helping organizations solve business challenges. We currently serve the greater Northeast and Mid-Atlantic regions, and we currently have more than 300 customers that we're supporting on some type of managed service level today. Razer as a whole is really comprised of these kind of major verticals of our core solutions, and that's digital transformation to assessments to security, our core managed services, data center modernization, and cloud services. So Razer as a whole makes up pretty much the gist of what most companies really need, or we can find a fit that matches to help an organization. So our team is currently comprised of a number of different individuals with expertises that cover a wide range of different certifications, as well as we cover many different regions of the world. With being corporately headquartered at a contract in Pennsylvania, we've got offices in New York, data centers across the country, as well as offshore teams in India as well. All of our employees are former end users, as well as we are experts with the top 20 tech vendors in the industry. So we've worked very hard to develop these certifications and this back end of expertise that we provide to customers. We also have a number of different awards we've won over the years, as well as we're a highly classified and top-tiered Microsoft Gold partner. As I mentioned before, we have a number of different technology partners we work with, and our catalog is pretty extensive. So, spanning from cloud to compute to network and security, there's a number of different partners that we work with, and it's pretty much all the big names out there that most people recognize, and we're highly working directly with all of these partners. Let's get into the kind of topic today around managed services and what makes a good fit. So, when working with an IT partner, we look at an array of different elements. How do you work with an IT partner and the services and solutions that you need in order to run your business? So you look at many different approaches to managed services, and these kind of range from being reactive to a la carte services to being proactive managed services, and now we're getting into more of the security side of threat monitoring. And what does all that mean across the board, and how do those different things fit into place? So there's many different ways to work with an IT partner, and it kind of depends on how you want to work. We can fit and kind of manage into different areas, and it doesn't have to be one straight vertical down straight. It can be a number of different elements, whether you're just focusing on backup or security or full-blown managed help desk. All of these kind of elements show you different ways to kind of work with them directly. We've got cases where today, we look at environments and work with customers strictly on the help desk side, and there's certain aspects that maybe customer just wants to be reactive. So there's elements of cost savings across this board, as well as what's the best kind of package and approach to going into managed services while working with a partner like Razer, and how can they benefit the business itself. So there's a number of different kind of topics around that. from an IT, what we kind of initially go into is we look at the maturity of an organization's IT model. And what that means is, how are they aligning themselves with the current staff they have today, or no staff, or their current partner today, in regards to, being in a state where they're matured enough to make, strategic and achieving kind of IT excellence as an overall goal. And we find that most customers that we come into are kind of in the, stage 2, stage 3. They're trying to find that gap to, stay away from reactive, but be proactive enough that they're aligning themselves to their goals and their tasks and the way they remediate issues and things like that for their business. It's working with an IT integrations provider and a managed service provider like Razer, where you can kind of take that next level and augment resources from our team, as well as get aligned with expertise to realign the track of what you're trying to do. And you can take the maturity model of your business to the next level. So staying aligned and tracking, the SLAs of tickets and projects and IT operations, and then trying to be strategic and start the planning and overall driving the business innovation of IT and the use case in the business as a whole. So, like I said, we start to find people kind of sitting in this number 3 realm, and then we kind of work with them to take them to the full strategic plan. So why partner with somebody like Razer? We've seen a disruption across the business landscapes in most industries. We've seen the struggle from CEOs to all C-level execs, and studies are showing that they're having trouble keeping technology in pace with everything that's coming out. Especially we live now in a COVID world where work from home and all of that has kind of really taken over the whole industry, and it's become very difficult to properly kind of prepare as well as focus on what the business needs as a whole in order to continue growing and staying fundamentally ahead of the curve. So, on average, we're finding that a lot of these infrastructure systems are either antiquated or they haven't spent the time to focus on it. So, working with a managed service provider, it allows you that kind of strict definition around observing the environment and keeping eyes on it, as well as working with individuals to try to plan and make sure that they're focusing on the right key things they need to focus on, and not being distracted by the noise of all these different technologies and partners and things like that try to jump into play. Focusing on what the core of their business really is from an IT standpoint, and focusing on how to drive that forward so that they can focus on their business and allow somebody like a Razer to come in and focus on the core of their IT and what they need to do from that perspective. So we talked about kind of why that's important, and all of the industry studies are showing that IT managed services is cutting IT costs. It's helping environments stay ahead of the curve. It's catching security problems. It's a number of different things, from optimizing customer satisfaction of the internal employees to utilizing existing resources correctly. Those are the reasons why they hire these employees to come on their team. And they get distracted by the day-to-day chaos and the noise, and then aligning their organization from an IT perspective. What do they need to focus on, and what do they need to stay ahead of the curve with? So it's important to have kind of these focuses so we can establish predictable costs and offer that immediate expertise support from engineer levels to product experts and all of that way it comes out. So overall, it's partnering with somebody that has that kind of your best interest in mind, so that you focus on what you need to do is basically running your business. So, what are the top reasons for partnering with an MSP? Most people see reasoning is a number of different categories and things. And, from a kind of source of Datto did a MSP kind of report across the industry, surveying a number of different businesses and individuals. And it wasn't surprising to see that a lot of people are concerned about security, obviously, with people going remote, and the elements of, making come a sacrifice in some cases to get people working, getting people into places. Security is a top concern. So the focus there isn't surprising. And, the challenges that we're seeing across our customer base are in the realm of the security and more or less, how do you support and maintain these systems and these users now that they're working remotely? It's much harder to do that when you were able to kind of just walk up to people in an office before. But with managed services and remote support and the tools we have today, we have the capabilities of really supporting people from anywhere they are, no matter where they are, as long as they have an internet connection. So, it's important to really realize that some of these kind of core complexities aren't really problems when you start working with an MSP. They typically have solutions in place that can resolve these kinds of things and address kind of the major concerns that people have. So, like, once again, you can kind of focus on the core of the business, and what you want to focus on is driving, revenue and keeping the business afloat in the world we live in today. So once again, some of the benefits overall of a managed service platform is the reduced cost of ownership. So there's a significant cost to go into managing employees and time, and reducing that we can obviously help reduce that by the self-management of having an organization on the outside working with your internal teams and keeping an eyes on the environment at all times, which reduces system downtime and can overall kind of keep the cost low from the management side of the environment. Improving, efficiency and competitiveness, we enhance the reliability of systems and networks, and we save time without having to worry about these complex issues. So we have the experts on staff that can handle these issues that kind of come up. It's not just relying on your current internal IT guys anymore to have that expertise, or if you don't have a support contract with a vendor being charged an astronomical amount of money to try to fix a problem. We bring these vetted individuals who know these technologies that are capable of working in these environments and can able to support them, any time of the day or night. Reducing labor costs, like we said before, is letting your employees focus on the core of the business and what they need to do. So, letting our employees focus on the hard work, the reoccurring kind of things and the other things, and then also lower the in-house training and having those employees on staff if necessary. We have a lot of customers come to us that, want to implement new technologies, and sometimes it's on the fly without really doing some vetted elements of it. So, what have allowed us to do is really focus on the fact that we implement newer technologies for customers all the time. We can most likely take these kinds of situations and bring them into different environments and the use cases that we had from previous customers to better support those newer technology implementations for other customers. So it's about retraining the right staff and training them in-house and getting these elements pushed out quick enough that they can absorb these new technologies without having to wait months and months and months for an in-house person to really take it and run with it. Having the best class tools. We spend a lot of time, investing in our tools that we use for remote support and the elements that we use and monitor our environments day to day. So, it takes that time away from your employees as well. We let our customers utilize the same tools that our technicians use. So getting access to those tools that have already been vetted and work well in the environments, just gets that kind of element right in your employees' hands as well, so that they can continue working and focusing on that while working in tandem with the augmented resources from Razer. And then it's about reducing the risk and liability. So, choosing the right MSP that has that expertise, has that knowledge, and is vetted from, being a SOC 2 compliant company to, reducing the liability and risk of the client company by, building that greater efficiency and what they bring to the table around all of that. So, what are the managed services benefits for internal resources? So, we don't look to replace employees. We work very well augmenting resources into the game and working with, companies who have these kinds of resources in-house. So retaining those resources is obviously a big challenge in most cases. Sometimes they leave for great opportunities, it causes aggravation, or they might just be aggravated from the load that they have in-house as it is. But partnering with a managed service provider like Razer, we have a value model that's designed really to help customers with those opportunities and make those employees feel less of the burden and the frustrations that they have. So, sometimes with the in-house IT, employees are spending a lot of time on reoccurring issues that are, they're not problem focusing on the core element of the issues. They're just trying to band-aid problems in some cases. So, their reactive approach most of the time where they're break fixing things and trying to stay ahead of the curve, with managed services being proactive, we can approach and help risk mitigation. We can help them with system monitoring and cybersecurity and preventing those problems from reoccurring that continue to affect the business. So working with those individuals to understand the patterns and the elements that occur and start to track those kinds of things. Being transparent about services and the agreements and the response times. It's about SLAs. It's about understanding, the necessary response times for different issues, as well as getting qualified and trained full-time, people in there. When sometimes, in-house, sometimes they're not fully vetted. They only have a limited kind of expertise, and they need that kind of extra team effort from augmented resources that can help, bring that caliber up to the level they need to. So, what's Razer's edge value model? We've really broken this into two kind of major categories. It's growth and cost control. What we're seeing is most businesses are focusing on these two kind of major areas when it comes to managed services and then transformation services. So it's a two-tiered approach. But there's four categories that we really look at, strategy, integration, infrastructure, and support. These four categories all fit in the kind of different solutions of these two tiers. And all of our individual service components are kind of configured to work into these strategies and drive towards that growth pattern. So, our model is not designed to displace internal resources, but it's designed to help develop specialized skill sets for them, as well as to present the best future path for them to value themselves and the organization, as well as your customers. So, it's important to strategically, in the first part of it around managed services, is design the predictability and standardization and the protection and scalability. So being able to predict the elements that are going to occur and then protect the environment so that it can scale. So all the elements around, security, backup, disaster recovery, taking virtualization, alert and monitoring, all that kind of stuff is the ability to allow you to scale and protect the environment. And from there, we work with the customer to build these transformational growth periods. So, optimize and start elements of application development or 365 or knowledge management or even cloud-based productivity being optimized in that perspective. And a lot of customers are getting to that stage now with the whole COVID crisis and work from home is figuring out how to make that happen. And then at the end, the kind of fourth level is the innovation modernization. Is now that you've got the core in place that's maintaining the environment and protecting it, and you're being productive, what does it look like to, take the innovation and the modernization of the company to the next stage? So we work with customers to work on budgeting and marketing solutions or solution modeling around risk analysis and project planning and management and all that aspect of, making sure that if something happens to the business, what do we need to do? How do we take the business to the next level from a cost analysis or a technology standpoint? And work with our environment and our individuals on our team to build that plan so they can innovate and modernize their business. So, when we do an MSP engagement, we have a roadmap that we really kind of focus on, and it's broken into 5 different stages. So, the first 2 stages are really around the introduction of the customer themselves, working with them and aligning with the customer, make sure that they are a right fit. Does Razer services match what the problems that they're currently facing, their pain points, and all of those elements today that would make a good relationship or a right fit for managed services. From there, we explore with MSP assessments, reviews of data, as well as building essential proposals and things like that. So we spend the time to really understand the environment, to what it maintains and what it entails to that environment, the staff, the employees, the technologies, the devices, the resources, all of that aspect during the exploration. From there, once they're ready to move forward, we do a very aggressive kickoff and onboarding. So, we work with the customer to understand what a kickoff is, welcome them to the program, understanding what the program is going to entail, what the onboarding looks like, and all that aspect. So we spend a lot of time around onboarding with customers due to the extensiveness of the information that we're capturing from these environments. Our support teams need to understand what the environment entails, what we need to support, what software, what devices, all the elements that fit into the support bucket during that process. So we spend a lot of time working with the customer, their on-site staff. They're doing mini audits and fit checks and things like that so that we understand every element that's there so that we can properly set up a plan moving forward from the monitoring perspective to alert and monitoring to policies and procedures and all that elements of supporting their environment with their team. And then, phase 5 and onboard is basically supporting and building out the review of the management of the account. So it's account review, it's optimization, it's making changes, it's the support of the environment, it's building visibility into the analytics and data points that we capture for an environment. So spending that time working on trying to figure out what stages the environment needs to move at what times. It's life cycle management. It's a number of those kinds of things, and the continued ongoing relationship. To continue to survive and thrive, businesses really need that experienced partner with a clear roadmap and proven methodologies and drive those kind of technology solutions and evolutions. So, once again, why choose Razer from managed cloud services and managed services? We've gone from the implementation side, we're end to end. We from the beginning to the end, we're all in. We work very hard to develop and understand a customer's environments and any issues that might arise during the process of trying to bring them on. We're compliance focused. We pay close attention to different industries, compliances, requirements, all that kind of stuff. So, driving certain SLAs around that to maintain compliance is important to us. You'll get access to the resources we have built and the teams we've built over the years that have the expertise to really, fix pretty much any problems at your fingertips. We work hard to maintain maintenance schedules, environment upgrades, disaster recovery plans, and testing of those plans are things that we do with customers on a regular basis. We've got eyes and ears on the networks 24/7. So we try to maintain those environments and watch for points of failure and issues that start to correlate major problems and watching those elements to escalate and ping the right people when necessary. And we spend a lot of time building automation and failover for scenarios that we work with customers so that we can automate the things that are repetitive, but also be there when necessary during a disaster and things like that. So talking once again about that, rapid express onboarding, as help desk as a service, we're process driven from day one. We have a very extensive onboarding, and we spend a lot of time around these kind of elements of gathering data to what the client data looks like, to building knowledge bases and documentation for our teams to support those environments. And it's about that solid plan of attack. Planning each of these onboardings around the process is great. Creates a stronger learning of our support teams of new data. So we try to take the similar approach for all of our customers so that training customers on new elements of things doesn't take days, weeks, or months. It's pretty rapid. And talking about that again, kind of from another element, it's about gathering that information, the localization of it, time frames, device lists, Active Directory configurations, Exchange lists. You name it, we spend an aggressive amount of time looking at all different elements of a customer's environment so that we can properly onboard them in the right cases. And, modernizing customers around multi-cloud is more important than ever. With COVID, a lot of people are moving to the cloud. So we spend a lot of time now dealing with, how do customers maintain multi-cloud operation environments? Nobody seems to be in just one single cloud. We've got customers that dance in Azure to AWS to private clouds to even our own Razer cloud. So building and optimizing the modernization of their environments around that has what most people think would be very difficult, but we've made it even more simpler than ever. So with smart event escalations and our partnership with OpsRamp, we're able to understand and correlate data between all these environments in one single pane of glass. We developed security architecture that matches against major threats and elements that are out there that are causing havoc day to day. We're building reports and analytics the way the customer wants to understand them, how they fit the model of their business and understand the centric points of what their business runs on from those analytical points. We have a 365, 24/7 NOC that's watching these elements every day. Even when your staff is on vacation, our guys are there watching. We put a heavy emphasis on automation, from remediating issues and incidents that are repetitive to handling more routine tasks of deployments and software deployment and updates and patching. We spend a lot of time working with customers to build these automation plans so that we can focus on the core elements of their business that are most important, and let the things that, yes, are important but don't need kind of eyes and ears on it to maintain, let that do that from the automation standpoint. And at the end of the day, we always want to provide some type of ROI that the business can see. What are we doing as a managed service provider that can add money back into their pocket through cost savings because we're doing things better, faster, and more innovative. So, going back to what I was talking about with OpsRamp and our partnership earlier this year that we've made with them, we're not just a monitoring platform. We're now we're working with them to build a hybrid IT operations management center, and it's that end-to-end monitoring. It's the integration, consolidation of these special elements that people put in their environment, whether it's VMware or Cisco or a number of those different networking and cloud compute infrastructures. We have these special elements that we can start to watch these integrations in a different way than other products allow. Building up service maps and viewing the business from a different perspective. What and how these devices affect each other, and if a core router goes down, what that affects on your core services, and what services are affected by different outages and those kinds of elements. So we're building service maps out for customers in ways that gives them a different viewpoint on their networks and their environments and how IT really runs their business. Working on building availability dashboards and then working on alert aggregations and correlations and notifications, keeping that noise controlled so that it's not chaos and it's not just things that people build a filter for anymore in their inbox. It's actual data that when we hear alarms go off, it's something critical we need to look at, because we already had correlation, try to figure out if it was one thing or another, or building that service level management so that our SLAs are matched based upon the escalations and the alerts that go off that we need to look at. Oops. So on a previous webinar I did with OpsRamp, I built this kind of service management stack that I think is important to understand. So, when we built and worked with OpsRamp to build out our kind of mapping of how we manage and ingest alerts for customers, it's important to understand all the different resource applications, cloud integrations, and services that we can monitor from that perspective. But that seems like a lot. And it is a lot because we've got all these different services and devices today that, have a heartbeat, or they have data that they're sending out there. And how do we correlate all that stuff together into one central pane of glass? It almost seems impossible, but OpsRamp allows us to do that. And it's about taking all those elements and ingesting them into a monitoring stack, and then letting AI and alert correlation drive a lot of the elements of correlating those alerts and what needs to be done, while applying automatic remediation to some of those issues, or running jobs to reboot a service or fix something. That's something that we developed and with them and called around AI ops, and that's artificial intelligence operations. It's the robotic process automation of handling alert correlation and those elements. And it doesn't mean that, we don't still manually do incident management and monitor automation. That stuff still happens, but it allows us to better correlate and have the technicians spending less time trying to track something down when we have all the data points kind of suggesting this is the problem, or this is the key problem to focus on, and what they need to do so they can spend more time just fixing the problem and not trying to track it down. So kind of heading back to, the MSP and choosing an MSP, what does it look like when executives and management kind of come to, what it takes to pick an MSP? We've developed this kind of top 10 checklist to choosing the right MSP or managed service partner around, these goals and objectives that they need to focus on. So things like, do they execute on objectives? Is the vendor actually truly meeting your goals and objectives? Are they paying attention to those elements? What your business objectives are, and are they actually interested and curious in helping? Delivering complete functionality. Are they offering end-to-end solutions by providing complete offerings of functionality? So, are they giving you everything packaged into one package, whether it's endpoint management and security functions and management services and support all in one, or are they kind of piecemealing it all out? Or are they not even paying attention to that and not really offering an end-to-end solution? Focusing on customization. So, as much as we try to stay in one kind of path, software doesn't always allow us to do that. So, do you have the ability to work with them to deploy customization software or software development? Do they have the ability to help guide the business in ways with their legacy line of business applications and that kind of stuff? Compliance is key now today, with security becoming even more of a critical factor. Most businesses are now being held to multiple different types of compliances. So, are they aware of compliance and regulatory standards? They are stringent, but at the same time, what's imposed on your business, and does the managed service provider that you're trying to work with know about those regulations? Do they know the best practices? Can they speak on behalf of making sure that your business stays compliant? Offers pricing transparency. Are they trying to hide and nickel and dime you, or are they pretty, providing a predictable model that you can understand that as you add users, as you add devices, as you add different services, this is what your costs are going to be, so you can properly budget as you grow your business, as it expands, and as everything kind of changes and evolves. You need to understand, is that a partner that you can grow with without it breaking the bank? Do they provide clarity to what can be kind of expected from the business relationship? It's essential that, there's clarity in service level agreements to service KPIs. Are they explaining, what's expected from the business relationship, and are they meeting those kind of elements? Are they or are they really not focused on that element? Are they not paying attention to it? It's an important factor that should be part of all reporting as a managed service provider that you're providing to the customer, so they can see where you're delivering and where you might be faulting and why maybe you do better. Do they have the ability to scale up and out of operations? As your business grows, can they scale up with you in that kind of sizing faction as well? We see a lot of we see a lot of customers come to us looking for managed service providers that can scale with them because they had maybe a smaller environment shop that had one or two techs or three techs that just doesn't fit their bucket anymore because they're too small. So, making sure that environment can scale up with you as you grow the business. Can they scale with you, or is that something you're going to have to look at replacing further in the future? Providing electricity as your needs change. So, managed service providers should be flexible. As you increase or decrease the number of your applications, your environments, your requirements, do those kinds of things increase as well, or are they kind of not being as flexible as your business needs? So that's an important factor of, as you grow, as you start to flex a little bit, can they provide the elements of that same kind of flexing to provide those services to you? Do they have the capability of supporting multiple locations, geographical regions? As businesses start to expand and consolidate and also look at new markets, what are the plans if you want that MSP to continue working with you? Can they expand with you? Can they provide services at other locations? Things like remote support capabilities or on-site dispatching or Do they have partners that have other regions focused on? So, being able to flex and be able to support multiple locations for customers is extremely important. And then providing, efficient customer implementations. Delivers, on the speed and the efficiency for implementations and product rollout. So, do they focus on spending that time like we talked about with Razer's rapid onboarding and extensive, approach to really documenting the environment and spending the time to actually understand what the customer's doing, the elements they have in place, and making sure that they're not leaving any stones unturned, so that we really understand the customer environment from every aspect, so that we're not spending catch-up time trying to figure out things that maybe we missed or that the customer didn't tell us about, and that kind of stuff. And there's even things that we find that customers didn't even know themselves during audits. So it's important to really spend that time around the efficient customer implementation process. So it looks like we're going to wrap up a little early today. That's pretty much the gist and the full topics of looking at choosing an MSP and how we can kind of manage how those managed services can benefit the kind of growth of the organization. Working with an MSP like Razer. So we look forward to working with businesses who want to try to go to that next level, who need that expertise and guidance, and getting to the maturity models of we talked about is getting out of the reactive state and more proactive state, and the overall kind of strategic excellence and driving business innovation. So feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you. If you have any further questions, that's what we're here for. So thanks again for everybody that came out today to check this out, and we look forward to the next webinar that we'll host soon. Thanks.